All right, good morning, everybody. You usually don't see me up here, but my former colleague, Nathan Smith, has taken a position at Clemson University. So I do want to give him credit as partial authorship. I'm using slides that he had created in the past and I have updated. But today I want to talk to you just a little bit about the outlook for inputs and also about the peanut situation, what we experienced in 2015, and maybe touch a little bit on outlook. So just update the peanut economic situation. Can y'all hear me okay, or should I move the mic? All right. All right, so we'll talk about the inputs, peanut situation, a little bit about the budgets, and then we'll do some cost comparisons and just help you kind of start thinking a little bit about what planting decisions you want to make based on your costs and so on. All right, so as far as energy is concerned, we're seeing prices come down significantly in terms of gasoline and farm diesel. And actually this year, this chart is based on the short-term energy outlook by the Energy Information Administration in January. And you know this week that petroleum prices have fallen even more. So when they revise this in February, I'm sure that's going to come down even more. But typically, I show a chart of our seasonal index of when the best time of year is to buy diesel fuel for the farm. But 2014, 2015 were not typical years in terms of seasonal behavior for diesel fuel. So we didn't really see any cyclical or seasonal pattern. We just saw diesel fuel price continue to drop 2014, 2015. So it's hard to come up with a seasonal estimate. Generally, January is a good time if you've got some on-farm storage to buy farm diesel. Generally, it's about 3.5% based on 2013 through 2009 data. It's about 3.5% below the year's average price. But like I said, 2014, 2015 were odd years, and it just continued to drop throughout the year. Now, as far as what we're thinking, or the Energy Information Administration is thinking for 2016, and that we'll see it come up a little bit, gradually through 2016. So they're expecting global supplies to tighten a little bit, but there is so much uncertainty where that is concerned. So I'll try to continually update your county agents, and they can inform you as growers about what is going on in terms of farm diesel prices. But the outlook is for it to come up a little bit through 2016. This is a chart created by the Food and Ag Policy Research Institute out of Missouri. And they have an index based in 2011. So 2011 represents average prices for seed, fertilizer, chemicals, fuels. And so you can kind of look at it and say, all right, in 2015, seed prices were 13% higher than they were in 2011. But you can also look at it and say, all right, compared to 2015, 2016, we're going to see seed prices probably come up a little bit. These are based on stochastic interactions. They have an algorithm, a really complex method to estimate this. It's an average of 500 outcomes. And you probably remember hearing about FAPRI last year when you were trying to evaluate farm bill decisions, whether you should do ARC or PLC, because they helped come up with some prices that you could use in those tools. So you probably have heard FAPRI. There was a question about the accuracy of their data, and when they're estimating, 10, 15, 20 years out, you could flip a coin. It's probably about 50% accurate. But when they're looking about 1 to 2 years out, they're pretty accurate. So this is, I think, a reasonable expectation of what we can expect for prices for inputs in 2016. Fertilizers, we all know those are down. Not as relevant for peanuts unless your soil test calls for them, but even so, if you're planting other crops in your rotation, you need to be mindful of that. But fertilizers are down, which is great. Ag chemicals up just slightly. Fuels expected to go up a little bit through 2016, like I mentioned. Repairs, farm machinery, and so on. And we tried to reflect these changes in the enterprise budgets as well. So just to summarize the outlook for 2016, slight increase in seed prices, probably not for peanuts though. We have plenty of seed available. These are the numbers that we're using in the budgets for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. And these values are some of the lowest that we've seen in the past 3 years, except in the case for potash, over 7 or 8 years ago was the last time we saw prices that low. Diesel fuel is down, but expected to gradually increase. We're using $1.80 per gallon in the enterprise budget, so if you take a look at those, you'll see $1.80 per gallon, and that helps reduce some of our irrigation expenses as well. The $1.80 per gallon was kind of a higher average based on recent quotes that I've got. Some places were even able to purchase farm diesel for $1.60 a gallon. So it just really depends on location and timing and all of that other stuff. But we'll keep an eye on that and let you know based on the volatility in the Middle East and uncertainty out there. So chemicals, based on the survey data, some of them are higher than last year and some are lower. And that's a result because we've had some generics come on board and things like that. So estimate about 1% increase overall. Machinery up. Had a great question yesterday about the machinery. Is that based on used equipment? And no, it is not. It is based on buying brand new equipment, which is an assumption that we make in creating our enterprise budgets. And wage rates, we've accounted for a higher increase there. We're using $12.50 an hour for farm labor wage rates in the budgets. Okay. I want to show you this slide because it's really great for the U.S. economy to have a strong dollar. It means consumer sentiment is up, things like that. But from the ag side, it hurts us a little bit. It definitely makes our exports more expensive. This is definitely a bigger issue when we're thinking about wheat and somewhat with corn, definitely an issue with soybeans where we may not have the competitive advantage in growing it. Maybe another country has it. But it's actually, we're seeing it hurt us a little bit in terms of peanuts. We know we can compete on quality, but Argentina, India, other countries are selling their peanuts less expensively. So we can't compete on price anymore. So that strong dollar is hurting us. That's kind of a big takeaway. It's hurting agriculture. All right, so what happened with peanut production in 2015? Based on USDA's most recent report, we harvested 777,000 acres in Georgia, which is up 32% from last year. In the U.S., 1.57 million, up 19%. We've all heard about the increase in planted acres. As far as the yield result, we still had a pretty good yield. Planting more acres, it's not the highest on record, but close. It was the second highest record for Georgia. And U.S. yields, even though we had droughts in the Southwest and flooding in South Carolina, we're still seeing a higher yield than 2014 for the U.S. So what does that mean? That we're going to have the second highest U.S. production on record, 3.11 million tons of peanuts. And Georgia is estimated to have a record production of 1.7 million tons. So excellent production, good yields, more acres planted in Georgia. This is the most that USDA is projecting that will grow for the state in history. So, all right, what's going on in terms of demand and stocks? You heard Dr. Monfort talk a lot about storage issues and how that is definitely a big concern. Domestic food use is up 1% from the 14-15 marketing year. That is definitely being supported by government purchases. They're trying to help out where they can and use peanut butter in the nutrition programs. The 15-16 crop year is expected to increase 2.3%. We're seeing edible peanut use up, but honestly, we need people to eat even more peanuts to keep up with our production. So Unfortunately, peanut butter was down a little bit compared to several years in the past. Consumers are wanting to spend their dollars on a different protein. So hopefully we can see peanut butter consumption go up as well. Exports are down. Again, that strong dollar. Argentina and India are competing with lower prices. We know we've got them on quality, but lower prices are definitely a challenge. But they're expected to go up 3% for the market year 2015-2016. And ending stocks were estimated at 2.1 billion pounds for the 14-15 marketing year. So we do have a large carryover, and that's where you've got the big concern about the ability to store peanuts for this 2016 crop. Just to show you graphically, increase in acres, it's certainly not the highest that the U.S. has ever planted, but it's definitely up there, and that's really driven by the Southeast. And the Southeast acreage was really driven by Georgia in terms of the increase of acres. But several of the other states in the Southeast increased their planted acres as well. So as far as the graphical look of peanut production, use, and carryover, again, nearly a record in terms of our production. That was the 12-13 market year when we had record production of peanuts. And so we're seeing a large carryover again. Food use going up slightly, expected to go up. Exports expected to go up from our slight drop this year. So there will be more seed available and so on. All right, just want to mention really quick about the 2016 peanut budgets. Those have been posted online, and we have 4 budgets available for you to consider and evaluate when looking at your operation. Remember, we do not put land rent in the peanut budgets. However, USDA does collect information on cash rents, and there are data on the state average. So take a look online at our website and check out the budgets, because as Dr. Montfort mentioned, it's really important to know your cost of production this year. All right, so here's a very busy slide, and I apologize that, but this is my last slide. We're comparing the crops, and so basically what I did is I averaged the tillage method. So the top set is irrigated, the bottom set is non-irrigated, and I just averaged by tillage. But if you're looking at your variable costs, your potential net return above your variable costs is one of the things that you want to evaluate. I mentioned USDA's survey data about the state average cash rent for irrigated land. It's $191 an acre in 2015. That's an average, so that means some growers are paying more, some are paying less. So keep that in mind. But that's the state average for 2015 based on USDA's survey, and you can see which commodities have potential to give you some return above your variable costs to pay yourself and to pay on some of those overhead costs, your fixed cost, depreciation, and all of that other stuff. And here's the situation for the non-irrigated as well. I put a land rent in there of $75. The state average for non-irrigated cropland is $61. I figured South Georgia is probably a little bit higher than that, so I've got $75 in there for that value. So definitely a more challenging situation for dryland producers. They'll have to really hope for good weather and good yields as well. All right, thank you all for your support for our educational programming and efforts. We definitely appreciate it. So I want to thank the Peanut Board, Georgia Peanut Commission for all their support in our educational effort. I believe that I am out of time,